Good morning, everybody. How are we all doing today?
They followed my directions and muted out.
They followed your directions. That's awesome. Great.
Absolutely awesome. Thanks.
Yeah, we do want it interactive, so don't mute yourself too much. I had a guy one time that I swear to God he goes, man, he calls me after calling, goes, man, I was so pissed. I kept trying to ask questions.
That's all right, Chuck. Davey doesn't want anybody talking to you anyway. Go ahead.
all right, I won't bring it up then. But he goes, man, I didn't know, I forgot I muted myself. And he goes, man, no one was responding. So anyway, so please don't forget to unmute yourself. We're going to talk about Clover today, and I know we've done Clover a handful of times. We're real big on Clover here. We love it for a handful of reasons. The day and age of just offering credit card terminals, I mean that's going by the buggy whip. I mean it's more than that today. And anytime you offer a credit card terminal, like a standalone terminal printer, and which is still applicable for a lot of merchants. Some of the smaller ones especially, they're real susceptible to competition coming in and swooping them away from you. And there's so much with technology today, and I think you'll see with Clover, and I'm going to have Chad talk about some of the apps that come along with Clover. It allows you to go in different. It allows you to go in more consultative and more of helping the merchant grow their business with tools that are available by using Clover, instead of just turning plastic to cash for them. There's a lot more to offer, and with that too, and one thing you'll really like about Clover is if you haven't seen it, make sure you get online, you look at it. We got a couple of videos on there where you can take a peek at it and you can look at it. It's quite the unit, and it's proprietary, which you all want your merchants on something proprietary, which basically means if they ever want to switch from you, they have to buy a whole new system. And this isn't a $300-400 credit card terminal. We see it go anywhere between $1,000 all the way up to $2,400. Depending on what you're getting the merchant. So what I want to do is I want to talk about. I'm going to have Chad. Are you with us? You on?
I'm here.
All right. We're going to talk about. Let's talk about a handful of the apps that go on the Clover. And if you haven't seen it, again, it's a touchscreen unit. And I'm sure you've been into a restaurant or a retailer where you see how they're using kind of a touchscreen unit with the card reader on the side of the screen. Let's talk about some of the apps that we have available to the merchant, and then we'll talk about some questions that maybe you want to start asking the merchant when you go in and you're doing your discovery.
All right, perfect. Good morning, everyone. Couple of them that I just want to touch base on because they're new apps. If anyone has businesses like gyms or salons, places that do scheduling, Clover, there's a new app, and right now there's about 150 apps in development, so there's going to be a lot of stuff coming out over the next few months. But one of the newest ones is an appointment app called Appointments Pro, and what it does is it allows whether it's a salon that has 10 girls in it or a spa, or basically any place where you have employees that are doing one-on-one with their clients or customers, it allows them to schedule out their times. The person can say, hey, here's the employee you can have in there what hours they're available. Not only does it track what that employee and who they're seeing, but it's also tied in so you can have your notifications so your clients aren't missing their appointments. Which can be a real bugger for some businesses. I know.
And those are sent out. Those are sent out via text and email, right, Chad? Either one, they can disclose which one they want to use.
Right, and most of these apps too, there's a free version that'll allow you to do so much stuff, and then you can buy an upgraded version or subscription to do even more services.
And when they do buy those apps, real quick, guys, just so we all know, when they do buy those apps, that's another revenue source for us, because we get residuals and commission off the apps that they buy, depending on what the app is and how they've set it up. So you want them on Clover for additional residual too.
Yeah, exactly. So whoever places that Clover unit out there, as these merchants decide to upgrade their Clover even further with apps, that's just an additional revenue stream.
Right.
So here's an easy way for, especially for somebody who's trying to, how many people have been into a salon or a place where they're still keeping a paper schedule?
If you could mute yourself, we'd appreciate it.
Back. I just want to give me something to eat and go back.
All right.
Okay. Another one I want to talk about real quickly is it used to be called the Nosh list. It's now called the Wait List Me. And how many of you folks have been in a restaurant where they hand you the little buzzer and you got to go sit and wait till your table's ready? What this does is it turns your mobile phone into that buzzer. And not only that, but you're collecting a lot of information on your client. You've got their phone number, you've got their name. You can also see how often that person visits your restaurant. So if you have somebody that's a fairly regular client, you could push them towards the top of the list. You can maintain what preferences they have, what they typically order. All of this done in one simple app, and it saves the cost of having to go out and buy the software and all of those little units for a restaurant.
Well, plus those units disappear. Those little vibrator things they give you at the restaurants. You know, people, you know, I've heard countless retailers complain about this where they go, yeah, those are like $65 a piece. And you give them to a customer, and the customer's out there, and then their party finally gets pissed because they're waiting so long. So they just take off and forget to turn it back into the restaurant. So it cuts that expense too. You know, so they don't have to worry. And I can't remember what the guy said, what the service costing. That's like $100 and something a month for merchants to have that service, to have the little vibrating reminder that, hey, your table's ready kind of deal. So it turns their phone into that for them. Plus you get to, and like Chad said, anytime you can gather customer information and track that and go, man, this guy comes in here every week, let's push him up to the top of the list. You know, so you can do all kinds of fun things with that app too.
You know, and there's a ton of analytic apps as well. One of them is the Insights app, which if you subscribe to this one, what it allows you to do is basically see demographic area and information in your local area. You can track where customers are coming from. So you can really track the money coming into your store. And if you see an area, say that you have a business and you want to open a second location, you can then go out and decide, hey, you know what? There's a lot of my business is coming from the west of me. What I should be doing is moving that direction versus moving away from those folks. Not only that, but you can see what the propensity for those folks that are coming, how much they spend. If they come from the east, do they spend less money than the folks that come from the west, or what it? Basically, it's endless on what you can track in there. If for anybody that has a retail location like a convenience store, there's an app called Gift. It's GYFT. What's really, really cool about this is how many people have gone to the grocery store or some convenience store, the drugstore, and bought gift cards to give as a gift. And it's not for, like the Walgreens right by my house. You can go in there and buy Outback Steakhouse gift cards or Home Depot gift cards. And then that person, the place selling it, gets to make a little bit of money off of it. Well, this gift app basically allows your customer to tap into that same market and sell gift cards to just about anywhere. And it's not a physical card. It actually is an email. The person downloads the gift app. So if you wanted to give me say a $100 gift card to Home Depot, you could pay your merchant $100, have them type in my information. It'll send me a text that I just received a gift card. All I have to do is pull up that text and go to Home Depot and spend it.
which allows your merchant to generate additional revenue from the Clover. Because when they sell that gift card, they're getting compensated. So it allows them to actually get additional revenue off this unit.
I guess there's a million different apps. I've highlighted a few of them. Is there?
And what about Perka? What about Perka?
Perka is really a pretty cool deal. Basically, what Perka is it's a way to drive customers and returning customers back to your location. I'm trying to think of it's really that's one of those things. It's kind of like the ocean. It's not only wide but deep on the different areas. But as an overview, it's really a way you can reward your existing customers. So for loyalty programs, the coffee shop I go to, every 10th cup you get $3 off of, and they're still using those old punch cards, and you get a stamp every time you go in there. What this does is this stores all of that information, so you can reward your customers, and at the same time, if a customer hasn't been in a while, it allows you to communicate out to them some special discount or some benefit to get people to come back in. I don't know if everybody has Caribou coffees by them, but that's something Caribou has done with their loyalty program as well to get people, hey, they haven't been into our location in a while. Let's shoot them out a free, upgrade, size upgrade. And my wife is hooked on that. Every time she gets one, it's like, oh, you got to go to Caribou. I get a free coffee, or I get this or that. So that'll allow your merchant to steady out their sales stream, so they can drive business into them. If they see customers that haven't been in a while, they can reach out to them. And when you think of what the cost of this is versus how else merchants drive business into their location, I mean, if you have to advertise in a local paper or on local radio, that gets really, really expensive. And this gets right down to the people that you know are already buying from you. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. And just a couple other just side ones I think that will, like when you get into a merchant and you start going through your discovery and you're talking with them, they have, I think it's called Home Base, where, basically it's a scheduling app for your employees. And you get into some of these markets where, and the merchant can turn this on and off and decide what kind of access that their employees get. But they have, instead of having the old paper schedule set up and people calling in to go, hey, can you tell me, do I work tomorrow? Because I've been off for 3 days. I'm not sure if I work, in things of that nature. They can just log on with their smartphone into this app and go, because it's cloud-based, so they log in, they go, oh, yep, here's my schedule for the week. Oh, I wonder if I can trade with someone else. They can trade schedules with another employee, which works great when you look at, these types of businesses where they're, the average age of the workers, between the ages of 16 and 23. It allows the merchant to not have to work with that. Another one is inventory management, which is a big one. We all need to do inventory management for forecasting. We need to see what's selling, what's not selling. And it's all by SKU in stored with your Clover. So the days of having to go through with an old, clipboard and a piece of paper and going, okay, and they have the SKU reader you can get to go with the unit, so you can just read all your SKUs, put it in. It's tracking everything for you. So when you talk to a merchant about that, and you go, if you've ever been a merchant, and I think even we're all entrepreneurs right now. I mean, when you're an entrepreneur and you're running your deal, I mean, you don't just do sales. I mean, you do everything. You do forecasting, you do accounting, you do, inventory management. You have to worry about payroll. You have to worry about scheduling. There's a lot of different hats that merchants wear, and now they can centralize all this in one unit. And how much time does that save? I know an example of a story we heard recently was a guy was using QuickBooks. And what he had to do with his current system is he had to go in once a week, and he said it took him approximately an hour to 2 hours a week to make sure that all the information was in his QuickBooks. So he had to manually put all that information in. And he'd asked, and I don't remember how much was the app. Was it $50 or $60 a month?
I think it's
like that?
$49 a month.
It's $49 a month to get the app, so it'll sync with the QuickBooks. And he goes, I'm not spending $49 a month for that. And then the natural question that the sales rep asked was, well, let me ask you, how does it work now? And the guy explained it. And he goes, so you spend 1 to 2 hours a week. So that's at least a day over a month's period. Wouldn't you much rather is 1 day worth $49 to you to free up 1 day? What else can you do in that 8 hours to actually generate more revenue? You'll generate more revenue than $49 a month. So it's stuff like that that allows you to really go in and consult with these guys and help them become more efficient in their business. Where you can't do that with a credit card terminal because it's not equipped to do that.
One more thing on the inventory side of things. I think a lot of people, when Clover first came out, depending on who was looking at it and whatnot, the number for inventory items was sitting around like 2,000 items is what you can put into it. Now that's up in that 10, 15,000 item category and continuing to grow. And there are apps that actually allow you to purchase additional space, so to speak, for inventory. So, now if you're sitting at 15,000 items, that opens up a lot of doors on where we can sell it to that 2,000 items wouldn't work for.
Right. You guys have questions on any?
You're opening up a lot of small grocery stores that can do this, and there's a lot around the country that can do that.
Oh, absolutely.
I
think not only grocery.
I ran into that. Yeah, well, I ran into that with the Clover initially being limited to 2,000, so that's going to open up a whole new ballgame.
It does.
That's what we need. Okay, that room to expand. So some of the apps I think you guys have put out today, or you've acknowledged, are going to be very helpful to what we're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think so too. And I think the days of going in and going, and obviously the premise of our sale is oftentimes, let me save you money. And when you go in with a little different angle, more consultative approach, and go, look, let's see how you're doing stuff. Let's see how you're operating here. Is there a way to make you more efficient? Is there a way that we can help you generate more revenue? Because I don't know a merchant on this planet. If I went into them and I said, look, let me ask you, what would you rather have? If I could show you how to increase your business, let's say even 5%, or would you rather have me save you $90 a month on your credit card processing? What do you think the answer is going to be? Well, yeah, I want to increase revenues 5% or 10% or 20%. I think what we all have to remember too about a lot of these merchants that are in our wheelhouse, so to speak, the small to medium-sized merchant. Most people that get into business at that level are people that had an affinity for something that they did really well, and they go, oh, I should start a business doing that. It doesn't mean they're savvy business people. It means they're really good at doing something or manufacturing something or selling something. It doesn't mean they're really good at business. So if we can go in and consult with them and go, look, how can we make you more efficient? You look at big companies like Walmart or Target or these big organizations like that. That's how they make it scalable. That's how, because they build in these efficiencies that basically can squeeze every dime out of every situation if you have the right programs in place. And this allows that small to medium-sized merchant the ability to do that today in a cost-effective way.
The key is you're right. The actual key, when you walk into a merchant, he's wearing so many different hats because he's primarily doing everything. He doesn't have time to take a look at things. And the second thing is he's in the forest. You got to make him step out of the forest. So you basically want him to work smarter, not harder. And
yeah, exactly. You know, and that's the language I think you need to use with the merchant as you're talking to them about this. So when you get in there, I mean, you know, I think one of the easier questions to ask is, you know, is bringing up inventory management. That's one of the easier ones to ask right away. Another one is to ask, like, how many employees do you guys have? You know, and they go, oh, we got 16 employees. Well, how does the scheduling work? Well, you know, and they go, well, we put it on, you know, the timesheet in the back, and people call in and go, hey, what's my schedule look like? You know, you need, those are some kind of opening questions that you want to ask to these guys, and see how we can make them real efficient and put a lot of money in their pocket. Because obviously we make them more efficient and they're generating more revenue. That means they're processing more, which means you're making more money. I mean, if you could go to every one of your merchants and take them from $10,000 a month to $13,000 a month, there's $3,000 more a month that you're making residuals on. It's a win-win for everybody. Is there any questions on any of that stuff?
Yeah, I have a question, Chuck.
Yeah, go ahead.
Who puts all this initial information into this app? Is that something we load at IT, or is we get from them, we load it, or they load it?
Let me kind of. I've done quite a few of them, and so it really depends on what it is you're working with. On the retail side of things, basically what will happen is it'll get shipped out there because they're going to, on all the inventory stuff, they'll have, especially if they're doing barcodes, they'll be putting those barcodes and everything into their own inventory. If it is a restaurant, what we have done with just about every bar and restaurant that we've done, with the exception of one of them, and is to get their menu. And what we'll do is we will, as we're submitting the Clover application over to Clover for programming, we'll also send that with, and then they'll program that menu in there. And what's key about doing that is if you've got a steakhouse and you have modifiers in there, so that if I want my steak medium rare, or if I want a baked potato versus French fries, all of those things get programmed into it. So then as the server is inputting that information in, it's going right back to the kitchen as soon as they complete that order. Or if they, you know, on quite a few of them, and one of them that Mike's on the call that we did, they have a bar and a kitchen, and so it's actually separated out by which printer it prints at. So if I want a drink at the same time I'm ordering my food, those orders get split. One goes to the bar printer, one goes to the kitchen. So to answer your question, on the restaurant stuff, we want all that information so we can have as much programmed into it. Now, some of the additional apps, like if they're going to go to like a wait list app or table service app, those get put in by the merchant on site, because we're not going to know that they have 25 tables and you know, this booth seats 4, but that one seats 6. All of that stuff gets done on site.
Right.
And it's actually, it's really, really easy. And the folks at Clover are 24/7, 365, and they'll walk the people through. And if it's a third-party list or a third-party app, they've got the phone number right in the app store as you're doing it. So if you've got questions on how to set up a wait list app, you can go right to the developer of that.
Perfect answer.
Yeah, that is a great answer. You know, support on the Clover is phenomenal. Like Chad said, it's 24/7, 365. I mean, whatever that merchant needs, they've done a really good job with that, actually, with support on the Clover. So you don't have to worry about your merchant hanging out there. And you know what, quite frankly, there's things that we're not going to know. You're not going to know when you're out there working with the Clover, because it's you know, the interesting part about this, and if for those of you guys out on this call that have been in this industry a long time, it used to be in the olden days that, you know, there was people like us who processed the transactions, and then there was POS companies. because they're somewhat convoluted. There's a lot of information involved. So there's third-party POS companies that sold systems that really never even dealt with the processing. They just sold the POS system. Now it's allowed us to have our own POS system. So there's a lot to learn about it, and FDR knows that. So what they've done is they've created phenomenal support, because now we're not just Visa, MasterCard providers as far as the settlement side goes. We're POS providers as well. We don't have to go out to these third-party companies anymore. We can deal with it ourselves. So support is definitely top shelf. Any other questions on that stuff?
How long has the Clover team been around?
How long has it been around? Was that your question?
Is it relatively new, or they've been around for a few years?
I think it's been deployed for about 3 years. The initial launch of it was a soft launch, and they did that for 2 years, and then it's been out and available to the rest of the world for the last year.
So basically, they've had enough time to work out most of the bugs, right?
Oh,
yeah, at this point, it's relatively bug-free, and it's kind of funny because we deployed one back in December, and there were a couple of glitches with it, and just about every one of those glitches, and when I say that, it's the merchant was trying to use it as basically it's a restaurant. They were trying to get more out of it than what an Aloha or a Micros or something that's really built for that industry could even do. And what's really great about it is with the addition of all these applications that you can put into it, you can actually be more powerful than what a lot of those standalone POSs that, a lot of times they're paying $100, $150 service contracts on each month. And now you can have the intuitive ability to reach back out to your customers through Perka and get them to come back in and buy. You can put your schedule online to where your employees can go right to their smartphone and say, oh, hey, I've got to be in at noon, and your phone will beep at them. If that employee doesn't show up and clock in, all of a sudden it's sending a text to the owner saying, hey, Johnny didn't show up for his shift. You got to do something about it. And none of those other systems will do that.
Well, it sounds really cool. I got a couple of Arizona that I'm going to be working spring training, and this is great information to give to them.
Excellent. Any other questions on this?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you okay.
Okay, cool. I've got a B&B that I'm working with that is looking to use the Clover. The SunTrust locally has told him, we're in competition with SunTrust,
Sure.
but SunTrust has told him that Clover is about to launch a booking app. Do you anything at all that y'all know about that?
Yeah.
Well, there's about 150 in development right now, so I believe that is to be addressed. But until it actually launches, they really don't let the cat out of the bag so much as to what it is. But I would anticipate we'll probably see something along those lines.
Well, and the thing about it is I know SunTrust runs on FDR, which is the same network we run on too. And it's not like SunTrust is going to have the app and we're not. It doesn't work that way.
Right, exactly. But they're already saying that the app is coming. So I wanted to see if anybody knew whether it was coming or not.
We can find out about that.
I can make a phone call.
Yeah.
And
if you could,
I think the direction I would take it is SunTrust is the one that promised it, and if they're the ones that promised it, hey, what I would do is I'd sell the Clover system and say, as soon as that app comes out, what we'll do is we'll go into the App Store and we'll put it up on there. In the meantime, we can have all this other stuff running for you. That way, you've got the Clover unit out there and it's deployed, and it's going to stay with you versus going to SunTrust or anyone else.
That's a good idea. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a good little app for them too. I mean, that would be a nice unit for a B2B or B&B.
Yes, it would. And some of the small hotels.
Yeah, absolutely.
They only have one or maybe two.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's if you haven't had any experience with Clover, definitely get on. Look, I mean, it's a sharp little. Pardon me. I'm sorry. I'm fighting a cold. It's a sharp unit. Any other questions? Someone else was asking a question too. No questions on the Clover?
Just one question, Chuck. What app was that? I was trying to listen to you, and I missed it. The app is that for hotels she's looking at, or bed and breakfast? It's like
it's going to be a hotel app of some nature, I'm sure, because they're trying to get into that vertical, which would work the same as the B&B. So, and like Chad said, I mean, there's 150 apps in development, and this is open to, what do they call that, Chad, when it's open to developers?
I believe they call it open source programming. So basically, like with your smartphones, anybody can go in and develop the app. What they have to do, there's a process that First Data, manages it. So it's not like anybody can just put together an app and throw it on the system. It has to be approved by First Data, and then it goes into the First Data or the Clover App Store. But what's great about it is they've opened up the platform so that anybody and everybody can go in and develop an app. And what it's allowing them to do is these companies that are specialized in doing these different applications for things, they can go in and build it and generate revenue off it for themselves. So it's much quicker than if you were relying on First Data or Clover to develop all of their own stuff, which is why we've seen from July last year until now just an explosion in the capabilities of this thing. And it actually makes the apps better. Yeah, it makes the apps better because what you do is you have somebody that comes from, let's say, the hotel and lodging industry, and they know everything that people in their industry are concerned about, so they're writing these apps, and then they get them certified with FDR and Clover, and it's exactly what people in that industry are looking for. And that's a big advantage too that you have over these companies that are going in and taking an iPad and throwing an app on it and saying, okay, well, now it's your cash register and this and that. What's really cool about this is Clover controls everything. So it's Droid-based, and so they're the ones that control the operating system behind it. So any updates that happen from it, you'll never have conflicts, like when Apple decides to do a new OS and now all of a sudden a bunch of apps don't work. You'll never have that happen with this system because Clover controls everything. Right. Okay. Good stuff. Yep. All right. Any other questions, guys?
There's no question, but I do have a comment to make to you, Chuck.
Yeah.
I'd like to thank you very much for last Monday's sales meeting and giving me the spine to go back into that appliance store, retie them down, and actually achieve getting the account. So,
excellent. Hey, yeah. I appreciate that.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the help.
Thank you. I appreciate you going out and putting the stuff to use, and I'm glad it worked out. So that's good stuff. Thank you.
Question from Philly.
Yeah, Philly.
Hi, it's Tim. I missed the first part. How much does this system cost?
There's a lot of variables.
Yeah.
Your basic restaurant.
Most of the time, basic restaurants with a single unit, with a kitchen printer, you're going to be under $1,500 as hard cost. Just under.
Okay.
And
something to work with. Okay. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. And just let me elaborate on that 1 second too. A lot of these, like I'd mentioned earlier, where it used to be these third-party companies were the ones that did all the POS stuff. You can't even get, like if you get a third-party POS system, I haven't seen a merchant even get into one for less than $5,000. So I mean, it's a huge, huge difference.
Gotcha.
Good question.
Thank you very much for the info.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions? No? How about questions about anything else?
Well,
No?
I'm sitting here as a newbie taking all this in. I'm not part of the company officially yet. I'm kind of wondering what my next step is before I get to what I was just listening to now.
Who are you working with here?
Absolutely no one at this point.
All right. Well, you know what? That's going to change. Amy's on the call, and Amy will reach out to you.
Okay.
Amy, are you still here? Okay.
I'm here.
And do you have what you need to reach out?
Yep.
Excellent.
Yep, Barb, I'll get a hold of you.
All right, sounds good.
Thank you very much for coming today. Well, if there's no other questions, guys, I really appreciate you guys coming. Chad, thanks for coming in and talking about those apps. You know, if you're out there and you're working more and more Clover stuff, don't hesitate on giving us a call, 24/7, 365. We'll have contact information for you to get your questions answered. So thank you very much, everybody. Good luck out there. Got half a month left. Let's end the month strong and make sure we get all our deals on before the end of the month. So thank you, guys. Appreciate it.